Hello there, guys. We're live now. Today, basically, all we're going to be talking about is what's been going on with illegal immigration lately and like all the recent events. Obviously, we all know there was the Dover attack, so we don't really need to talk about that. There's not really much more I can say on it than has already been said. Although, the reason I've got my migrant spotting t-shirt on today is in solidarity of all the other migrant spotters who are getting called out by Hope Not Hate. So that's where we'll start our first. That's what I want to talk about first. So let me just get it up on the screen quickly. Where is it? If I can find it. There we go. So, Hope Not Hate, Dover attackers Twitter reveals strong support for far-right migrant hunters. Now, you can imagine the direction they're going to go. For instance, this is the geezer that done it, Andrew Leake. He obviously, looking through his Facebook and his Twitter feeds, for instance, he clearly had some sort of problems. There was a lot of rants about the job centre and things like that. So I feel like his money was getting screwed. He didn't see any end in sight. And he just sort of went out in a bang. That's my interpretation on it. But as back to Hope Not Hate, Hope Not Hate reveals that Andrew Leake, the man accused of firebombing a migrant centre in Dover on Sunday, had supported a wider range of far-right figures, including the so-called migrant hunters. Hence why I've got my t-shirt, because they're going to, if they attack one of us, it's an attack on all of us, and we're all in this together. So we all stand strong together. They say, they quote one of his tweets basically. It says, "Your children will feel the pain. We will obliterate their Muslim children." And this is a quote, by the way, YouTube. And then their disgusting women will be targeted mothers and sisters as bad lives. So obviously, you can see he's obviously got a few problems, like to rant and rave like that, but it is what it is. But basically, back to the problem, he goes, the support for far-right migrant hunters. Leake was an ardent follower of many anti-migrant citizen journalists in inverted brackets, members of the public who filmed channel crossings and harass migrants at their accommodation for their social media channels. So Hope Not Hate's trying to already, in the first sentence, trying to tarnish the migrant hunters as some sort of extremists. And it's absolutely ridiculous. They then on to go. He replied to Alan Leggett, aka Active Patriot, at least 73 times and mentioned him a total of 100 times. Other citizen journalists he engaged with online were Jeremy Davis, aka Little Boats, and Amanda Smith, aka Yorkshire Rose, whom he replied to 29 times and 18 times respectively. Things like this make me glad I'm not on Twitter, because he'd have been replying to my post too. But the thought of name dropping Active Patriot, Yorkshire Rose, and Little Boats in the same argument as somebody who attacked a migrant centre is completely ridiculous. And they know exactly what they're doing. They're trying to strum up some sort of hatred towards the people that are covering what's going on. And what they want to do is they want to intimidate people and try and silence anyone who's actually going to talk about this issue. So, as I said before, one attack on any of us is an attack on all of us. And we've all got to stand united on this, because at the end of the day, we know what their agenda is. We know what they're going to try and do. They're already hiding the truth of what's going on in Dover. It only takes organisations like this to push the narrative a little bit further, and then all of a sudden, us normal people become extremists. They're also trying to tarnish it on Tommy Robinson as well, which is odd, because he doesn't actually just really cover illegal immigration. He sort of talks about the rape gangs and things like that. But because obviously this bloke said that Tommy Robinson was right about the grooming gangs, which of course he was, which then they're trying to tarnish it on Tommy as well. So it's kind of a bit weird that well, it's to be expected, but it's just weird that they're sort of stretching to try and even get some sort of link. The fact that he's replied to someone's tweet means nothing. Twitter's an open platform where anyone can reply to any tweet unless your account's private. So trying to tarnish someone's name just because a bloke did that is nonsense. But that's why we started the show anyway, just to sort of show it off what was going on. But realistically, I want to go back onto a few stories that people might not have seen over the recent few days. So the first one is a chronicle of a dinghy illegal hotel to their own apartment. This was written by Little Miss on my website. So what I'll do is I'll show you the video first, and then from there you can get what I mean. I'll start it again. So So I'm not sure if that played properly, so I'll play it again just in case it came a bit dodgy on mine. Yeah, I didn't put the music over the top, by the way. This is my choice. But basically, this is just a story of an illegal immigrant showing how easy it is to go from a hotel to their own house, basically. So an Iraqi Kurd who arrived in the UK illegally via dinghy from northern France last year in 2021 posted a clip on his social media showing how easy it is for asylum seekers to obtain social housing while millions of native Brits languish on a lengthy housing list. When the asylum seeker first entered into the country back in 2021, he arrived on a dinghy and he was rewarded with a room in the 4-star Crown Plaza Hotel at Heathrow. The hotel has facilities such as a gym, pool, steam room and sauna. Here are a few pictures of the hotel. I'm sure most of you have seen hotels like this. We all pretty much know what they're like now. He was later then moved to the 3-star Holiday Inn located in Luton. This hotel has amenities such as a games lounge and TV lounge, swimming pool and fitness studio. Here's a few pictures from this hotel so you can see roughly what it's like. They're all pretty much the same. They're living better lives than majority of us in the country. At the beginning of October, the asylum seeker posted footage showing himself in a taxi heading for Brighton. This followed by a clip showing the apartment he had been allocated with the text stating home. The UK currently have 117,945 people awaiting a decision on their asylum claims, and more people are entering the country every single day to claim asylum. They come via dinghy across the English Channel, which you see, and others come via the Channel Tunnel or in the backs of lorries. Last year, the Tories granted 1,311,731 visas for foreign nationals to come here. Many of these then go on to apply for family members or dependents to come here off the back of their visas, so family reunification scheme. When their visas run out, a percentage of these people are put into asylum claims, so they don't have to go home. That's how easy our broken immigration system is to abuse. Last year, the figures are important. I know I'm rambling through it a bit, but it's on my website if you want to actually have a read through it. But last year, we had 48,540 new asylum applications relating to 56,495 people. Notice that the amount of people is actually higher than the number of claims. So when you see asylum claims, say you see 40,000 asylum claims, that doesn't mean 40,000 people. That also includes their dependents. But just in case you didn't know that, I'm sure most of you are aware. Overall, there was a total of 125,316 cases as a so-called work in progress in the asylum system. In 2021, 28,526 people arrived via a dinghy across the English Channel. So that leaves a remainder of 27,934 applications received for asylum from people who entered via other means. Despite numerous freedom of information requests being submitted, we have been unable as yet to ascertain the origin of these claims, whether clandestine entrants who come via another method other than a dinghy. Are they visa overstayers? The Home Office is not saying as of yet. The treacherous Tory party have consistently lied about immigration in successive election manifestos upon they were elected. They've repeatedly pledged to reduce immigration while doing the complete opposite. Now, as you can see how easy it is for these people to come into the country and get whatever they want. And it's absolutely ridiculous that they can show and laugh in our faces just how easy the whole process is. It's an absolute travesty, realistically, when you've got millions of people on the housing waiting list, and here they are showing how easy it is to get a place in Brighton. It's absolutely bizarre. Personally, I wouldn't want to live in Brighton, but there's plenty of people on the streets that would jump at the chance for that. So it's absolutely disgraceful. Before this, there was the £1.7 million spent on catering for illegal immigrants at Dover and Manston. I'm not sure if people see this story, so I'll skim through it because I put it out it was a while ago now. When did I put this out? Yeah, last month, just over a month ago, roughly. So the Home Office has spent just under £1.7 million on catering for illegal immigrants at Dover in the Manston processing facility. The actual figure was 1.6 million. Well, £1,699,378 has been spent on catering for new illegal arrivals at Dover and Manston processing facility. Last year, I'll just skim through to the important bits. Last year, the Home Office spent 358,000 on takeaways. So that was when they was ordering Domino's pizzas and kebabs for the arrivals, and everyone was outraged. And then when that news broke the media, the Home Office obviously had to change their plans because they couldn't keep ordering pizzas for illegal immigrants when the public are outraged. So they came up with the idea of putting in a new catering facility. And when they put in this new catering facility, what people was expecting is the cost to go down and it not to be a huge problem. But realistically, the price climbed dramatically from £358,400 last year to £1.7 million this year, just up until September. So that's from January to September. And that's strictly just for feeding the illegal immigrants when they arrive. That's not in the hotels, that's not on the coaches, that's not anywhere else. That's just when they arrive at Dover and the Manston processing facility, which is an absolutely awful lot of money to be spending on private catering. Now, there's another thing that happened recently, which I think is quite important. There's a video I'm going to show, and then we'll talk about it after.
The British people deserve to know which party is serious about stopping the invasion on our southern coast and which party is not. Some 40,000 people have arrived on the south coast this year alone, many of them facilitated by criminal gangs, some of them actual members of criminal gangs. So let's stop pretending that they are all refugees in distress. The whole country knows that that is not true, and it's only the honourable members opposite who pretend otherwise. Madam Deputy Speaker, we need to be straight with the public. The system is broken. Illegal migration is out of control, and too many people are more interested in playing political parlour games, covering up the truth, than solving the problem. I, Madam Deputy Speaker, am utterly serious about ending the scourge of illegal migration, and I am determined to do whatever it takes to break the criminal gangs and fix our hopelessly lax asylum system.
So as you can see, she's talking about the invasion in the House of Commons, which I know it doesn't seem like much and it's just words. It's important that it was called an invasion in the House of Commons because that's there for a reference in history now. That's said in the House of Commons, it's an invasion because that's what it is. It's what everyone else has been calling it for years. It's important she called it. But let's not get carried away with Suella Braverman because let's not forget what she used to be like. For instance, she used to be what we'd call one of these so-called lefty lawyers who would campaign for asylum seekers' rights and refugees so they can come into the country and avoid deportations. So take that very much with a pinch of salt. But at the same time, it is a positive note that it's being said and it's being called an invasion. And what I was expecting after this Dover attack was the media to sort of backpedal and sort of go the softer approach. But realistically, they've doubled down as well as the government and they've gone straight onto the subject. So that's a positive sign. And we can only see how it's going to go in the future. But it is a good thing that that was said like that in the Houses of Parliament. Personally, that's what I agree. And obviously, there's a lot going on at Manston at the moment. I'll play a couple of videos to show you what's going down at Manston. And then from there, we'll have a look. I'll explain a few things.
Have you got any phones? You get the nick from...
Yeah.
Is that a security? Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Right, so there's that one. And that, so basically what's going on at Manston at the moment, there is around 3,000 illegal immigrants, give or take, at the facility. There's also convicted Albanian murderers that have been found at the facility. They've found weapons. Staff have been assaulted. They're also spending around £9,000 on Xboxes for the illegal immigrants, just so they're happy and they can remain entertained whilst they're at the facility. You've also got the likes of Kent Refugee Action Network, etc., all protesting down at the facility. They want the site closed down. It's basically playing out exactly how it played out at I've lost my trail of thought there. Yeah, it's playing out exactly how it played out at Napier Barracks when it started off with a few protests by the lefties and the open border fanatics. And then from then, they started getting all of the media involved, which is where we're at now with Manston. And after there, they start encouraging the illegals to cause damage and get riled up. They're already using the children that are at the facility. They're bringing them straight to the front and telling them to shout, saying, "We need your help," blah, 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 blah. They're trying to play on all the heartstrings, and they don't want people remaining in the facility. But what realistically, if they're not in that facility, that means they've got to go into hotels or they're going into houses, and that's where they want them. Whereas the likes of me and yous, we want them deporting out of the country. We don't want them here. It's as simple as that. We don't want to pay for them. We don't want the risk of them. We don't want the burden. So you can understand where it's clash of heads. But the facility's only designed for 1,600 at the moment, but there's 3,000 in there. Illegals are literally leaving every night in coaches, going to various hotels. But the problem is they're running out of hotels to actually take up the offer. So at the moment, they're now taking on 4- and 5-star hotels. They usually do take some 4-star hotels, but now they're taking proper 5-star hotels and they're putting illegal immigrants in there, all at the taxpayers' expense. Obviously, we've been saying for years that this problem's spiraling out of control, but now it's at a point where action seriously does need to be made by the government, because tensions amongst the public are sky high. That Dover attack probably won't be the last thing that will happen around this subject, to be honest with you. Not that I'm encouraging anyone to go out attacking or anything like that, but it does feel like there's going to be more problems down the line as much. There is a few more things I wanted to highlight. For instance, there's another issue. The Libyan Coast Guard, I'm not sure if you've heard this story. The Libyan Coast Guard threatened to shoot down an NGO plane because they was interfering whilst they was pushing back an illegal immigrant. I'll get the article up so it'll explain it a little bit easier for you. So Libyan Coast Guard threatens German NGOs with missiles. I'll play the video and then...
Tutorial, please.
Cezanne, for aircraft seabird, please be informed that you are within European search and rescue area. You are within the European search and rescue area. This is not Libyan territorial waters. This is not Libyan territorial waters. Over.
Yeah, tutorial, otherwise we'll shoot you. Get away from the tutorial, otherwise we'll shoot you with some missiles.
Now, I don't know if you heard that or not properly, because the sound might have been a little bit quiet, but they threatened them to shoot them with SAM missiles if they didn't turn back. So there's other nations that are actually defending their borders and they're actually putting up some sort of effort. But our nation always seems to stand back and just allow these people into the country, which leads on to the next point I wanted to make, which was about Turkey, which they have deported 100,000 illegal immigrants this year. I know most of them have come to Europe, give or take, but a lot have gone back to Syria and Afghanistan as well, which from a Turkish point of view, that's brilliant. They're deporting illegal immigrants that are arriving in their country. That's what you want. Turkey reports almost 100,000 illegal immigrants have been deported since the beginning of 2022, over 420,000 since the beginning of 2016. The number of illegal immigrants deported from Turkey this year has increased by 149% compared to this time last year and has reached 97,448. So around 100,000 illegal immigrants deported, which is brilliant from a Turkish point of view, not great from where we're at. A total of 55,502 Afghans have been returned to their country, including 40,510 on board 213 charter flights and 14,992 on scheduled flights since the beginning of 2022. Also this year, a total of 11,025 illegal immigrants were returned to Pakistan on 2 charter flights and a number of scheduled flights. So it can be done. You're seeing nations all over the world deport these people and stop them from coming into their country. It doesn't matter about international law and international treaties, which it will be the next thing in the media, which will get the whole nation going down a whole pipeline of we've got a campaign to leave this pact or this pact. And it'd be like Brexit 2.0, and it will take about 10 to 15 years of campaigning before we can leave something, which we don't even need to leave because we completely disregard it. That's where I think the direction we're going to go with all of these problems, which is quite alarming from my point of view, because it's a massive distraction. And whilst we're still campaigning to leave these things and get the public on board and then get to the point where we can have a referendum and so on, thousands and millions of people are going to be flooding into the country. That's what's going to happen. And it's frustrating to see. But moving on from that, Kent school children are replaced by illegals. So I don't know if you've heard this story or not, but Kent secondary school children are being replaced by illegal immigrants in Ashford and Canterbury. Secondary schools in Canterbury and Ashford currently have no year 7 and 9 places for British children due to the school's massive, all of the schools in the area's massive influx of asylum-seeking children, according, that jumped. Asylum-seeking children, where's that gone? Sorry, I lost my trail then. Massive influx, asylum-seeking children, according to Kent County Council. They've stated that this is caused by an unexpected and therefore unplanned arrival of refugee children disproportionately placed by the Home Office in these 2 areas. It was put out in a tweet by Simon Jones, which said, Kent County Council leaders, secondary schools in Canterbury and Ashford currently have no year 7 and year 9 places for local children due to the unexpected and therefore unplanned arrival of refugee children disproportionately placed by the Home Office in these 2 areas. So, as you can see, children are literally getting replaced in the schools now, and people are not even making a big deal out of it. I know it's only year 7 and 9, but you've got to think, imagine if you had a child at that age that wanted to get into a school and you're realizing you can't put your kid in a school in your local area and you're going to have to travel miles to a whole different town or city just because there's illegal immigrants and stuff flooding into the country and their kids need to go to school. It's absolutely disgraceful. It's disgusting. Those kids should go to a different area. I don't know why the kids that already live here should have to go to school in a different area. It's disgraceful. Like, even the fact that we all sit back and allow this makes me feel sick sometimes, but there's not much we can do about it other than going down the correct routes, which leads on to the next point. A teenage boy and a young child was raped at a hotel housing illegal immigrants, which probably doesn't surprise you at all, but it's another story that's came out recently. A teenage boy and a young child under 13 have allegedly been raped in a hotel which is currently housing illegal immigrants in Waltham Forest. A teenage boy is one of 2 children to have been sexually assaulted inside a hotel housing illegal immigrants in East London. The teenager was allegedly raped by a man in his 30s, whilst the second incident relates to a sexual assault against a child in the same building. So it's 2 different events that have taken place to raping children in the same hotel housing illegal immigrants, which you can imagine happens up and down the country and barely makes the media, which is just frustrating. But I know I hate talking about all these subjects all the time, but they have to be raised, they have to be brought forward, and we have to talk about them. Otherwise, they get swept under the rug. So that's what we have to do. Spokesperson for the Met Police added he was bailed by the court to appear at Stratford Magistrates Court on Wednesday, 9th of November. The charge relates to an incident at a hotel in Waltham Forest on Friday, the 9th of September. The victim is being supported by specialist officers. The force said it received a report of rape at the same hotel on the 5th of October. The spokesman said officers attended and spoke to the victim, a boy in his teens, and his family. Specialist support is being provided. A man aged in his 30s was arrested at scene and taken into custody. He was bailed to return on a date in early January 2023. So this illegal immigrant who's came into the country, right? Here's the sick thing. He's came into the country, he's been put in a hotel at taxpayers' expense. He's getting everything paid for him. And then he decides to go and rape a small child. And then the stupid police decide to bail that geezer, let him back out in the community to go back to a hotel, probably not the same hotel, but to another hotel, and put thousands more children at risk. It's disgraceful and it's disgusting. Like, who makes that decision? Like, look at these people. Who makes that decision to allow these men to go roaming into the streets after they've just raped a child? It's like you can't get your head around it sometimes. It's like, it's really frustrating, isn't it? Like, But moving on from that, there's one more video I wanted to play, if I can find it, which is at a hotel in Colchester where illegal immigrants were protesting because they don't like the food that's being provided. And one of the illegal immigrants climbed on a roof and was threatening to kill himself.
لولاتي بريطانيا ام هاولاتي لوتيل فنابرا على خوما كشم يصير بسجن لموتيلا لسر موتوي كوتوي نفاري من اني نيشت من اني ام جيت الشبكه كداي تاراوغا على خوما كشم لموتيلا كسر ناب انا ما نو كسر متي ما نادا لنا سيرفيس فران داينو ودان دن ما مغا بكداي تاراوغا.
So yet again, it's not good enough for these people. You put them in a hotel, you give them everything they need, and then they're still protesting. They're still campaigning for more. All they want is more and more and more. And the government give them, for instance, when people kick off and they want more, like take Napier Barracks is a perfect example of how the government would just bend over backwards. These people that lived there at first, they burnt down the barracks, which to this day, nobody's still been charged with. And then from there, because they didn't like the facilities, they moved them to a hotel. And then because they kicked off at the hotel, half the people that was in the barracks at the time they was set on fire are now living in council houses all up and down the country. And it was all encouraged by various NGO groups in Kent. And the day before the fire, there was NGOs outside protesting. The same people that go in and help the illegal immigrants at the barracks and like educate them and do yoga with them and all that sort of thing. They were the very same people outside doing the blood on your hands stunt. And the photographer who took the pictures even got his name mentioned in Parliament, saying that they apologised for accusing him of being involved. When he was clearly involved, like he was there, he knew the whole incident was taking place, he was tipped off, he was part of that group, he's very much an anti-fascist and all of this. He was well involved with it. And then they mentioned apologise in Parliament. But that's just rambling on. But realistically, you can understand why they do this stuff, because they get what they want. All they've got to do is complain. The NGOs will get on side and the government will back down and give them everything they need. Well, we have to pay for it, but they will get them everything they need. Like, Active, I see you in the chat. The reason I've got my migrant spotting t-shirt on is in solidarity because Hope Not Hate are trying to call everyone out, aren't they, for the migrant spotters. So I thought, attack one of us, attack all of us, didn't they? But yeah, moving on from that, there's a few more stories on my Telegram if I can figure out how to get my Telegram onto... Yeah, here we go. So where are we? Another thing, Hope Not Hate, they got called out by the MP Rosie Cooper. You know, they've got that program called The Walk-In, which is it's basically an over dramatized version of events of what happens when the National Action lads got arrested. But here's what's hilarious. She said, I have been used as a marketing tool by Hope Not Hate and ITV. Miss Cooper said, what excuse is there for a press release that says, who is Rosie Cooper and who wanted to murder her? There's no defence to that. So let's test the public defence, the public interest defence to their despicable behaviour. And I call on Hope Not Hate and ITV to donate all money and profits generated from this TV series, both here and abroad. Every single penny should go to the Joe Cox Foundation. So Hope Not Hate have been called out and they've obviously used this MP against their wishes. And then Hope Not Hate, they put out a tweet saying that basically they want to apologise, but realistically they was doing it to save her life. But here's the laughable thing. Let's say that it was exactly how it played out in the documentary, even though it wasn't. Let's say it was. Hope Not Hate have saved this woman's life, and yet she still doesn't want anything to do with the organisation. She still doesn't want her name used by these people, which tells you everything you need to know, really. The fact is, these people are scum. Nobody wants associating with them, like not a single person. So just thought I'd throw that in there to let people know. Here's some images from what went down at the protest. They're just the usual types of... but there was a story somewhere, if I can find it. Bear with me a second. Sorry, guys. Yeah, so here you go. Look, the convicted murderer from Albania among thousands at Manchester processing facility. I just got to make that full screen quickly, so bear with me a second. I'm having a nightmare at the moment. My laptop is sort of having a meltdown. Yeah, here we go. So Albania, convicted murderer. What is going on? Sorry, guys, bear with me a sec. I'm actually having a laptop's not working. There we go. Oh, that's me. That's the wrong screen. There we go. Done it. Right. It should be coming up on the screen now. So, convicted murderer from Albania among thousands at Manston asylum seeker processing facility. Bear in mind, this is Kent Online, and it's a very soft approach to how they discuss the subject, but they do put out some valid information sometimes. The convicted murderer from Albania was among those sent to the overcrowded Manston processing facility in the past month. Kent Online can reveal. Mariglan Shosher, I cannot pronounce that name for the life of me. Thanks for the super chats, guys. I've just seen them now that have came through. So that was Mr. Cockney Nutjob and Mickey Mouse. Thanks, guys. Do appreciate it. I've just seen them because I've been having a bit of a meltdown with this article. He was brought ashore and taken to the former Ministry of Defence site in Thanet, which has been turned into an asylum-seeking processing centre. The Manston facility came under the spotlight as it emerged. 3,500 people are being detained there for weeks, although it is intended to hold 1,600 for just days, which is right. It is only intended to hold 1,600, but the Home Office must have known there was going to be a huge influx this year. Surely they would have built the facilities in place. It seems like this is all just, it's just ridiculous. What's this here? Misrepresentation by taxation. Dawn Browning. Thanks for the super chat. Appreciate that. The Manston facility, see, it's going to take me a nightmare to get through this. And right, here's another thing, right? There's a note that was thrown into the over the fence in a bottle, apparently, according to the NGOs that were protesting outside. And it's meant to be from a young girl who's in the facility, and she's claiming, like, the writer, it's really laughable. Like, it's clearly written by somebody who's like an NGO. And what they've written is like, we really need your help. There's not much food, blah, 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 blah. But then they also ask for cigarettes, a young girl asking for cigarettes in a letter saying we really need phone money and cigarettes. And it's kind of like, what the, it's kind of ridiculous. So I can't pronounce this person's name, so we're just going to say illegal. Among the thousands being detained was illegal, who was asked to fill in a questionnaire form to get given to new arrivals. On it, illegal of no fixed address told authorities he'd been convicted of murder and firearm offences in Greece in 2012, and he'd be given an 18.5-year sentence. As a result of what he admitted on the questionnaire, immigration authorities charged him with arriving in the UK without a valid entry clearance. After more than 3 weeks in immigration detention, illegal, or Shashari, is it Shashari? Shashari? Appeared at Folkestone Magistrates Court on Wednesday and pleaded guilty to the offence. The prosecutors told magistrates that Shashari had arrived on the small vessel, which would have been a dinghy, on October the 10th with others and was taken to Manston for processing. She added he was brought to shore and it was confirmed he was an Albanian national. At Manston, he was asked to fill in the questionnaire where he confirms he's been arrested in Greece and charged with murder of firearms. Like, look at the size of this facility now. It's absolutely huge. Like, it goes all the way back as well. And you can see all these coaches parked there waiting to take them to a hotel. This whole facility that I'm circling now is for illegal immigrants. It's absolutely huge. And then you've got the Dover processing facility, which isn't as big as this, but can hold quite a few. Add in all of the various immigration detention facilities all over the country, the various barracks used, the various other hotels, B&Bs, HMOs, house. You can understand the sheer scale of what's actually going on. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's insane that it's going on to this much, but no one's doing anything about it. Thanks, Twisted Tie, for the super chat. Appreciate that. So he said he'd been sentenced to 18.5 years, but served 8 years and 7 months and then decided to come to the UK. He has no UK convictions and no immigration history in this country. He was not the pilot and there were others in the boat. Oh, so that makes it all right then, doesn't it? This murderer comes to the country, but it's absolutely fine because he wasn't steering the boat. Chairman of the bench, Mark Tucker, asked the prosecutor why others on the same boat had not been charged with the same offence of entering the UK illegally. Mr. Farbrace replied, everyone on a boat could be charged with the offence, but it doesn't happen at the moment, but it could happen in the future. So basically what they're saying here, which is important to know, is that everyone that was on the boat could be charged with this offence for entering the UK illegally, but it doesn't happen at the moment. So they're telling you that you don't need to change the laws to charge these people for entering the UK illegally and stuff like that. It doesn't change, but they're not saying any of that. Realistically, all they're saying is we can do it, but we're not going to, which is what we've been saying from day one, is the courts refuse to. So the court also heard Shashari's application. Shashari applied for asylum in this country on October the 12th, and that his application would continue. So he's told you that he's a murderer, and we're still going to give this man asylum. It's insane. It's actually insane. Miss Wright, defending, added, he has been open and honest with the authorities to his detriment. Whilst at Manston, he applied for asylum on October the 12th, and that will continue. He apologises to the court. He's been in immigration detention for 23 days. So because he's been in immigration for 23 days and he's been honest since he arrived, that's just clearly everyone should just be okay with this and allow it to continue and allow this man to stay. It's absolutely, you couldn't make it up, to be honest with you. You really couldn't. And then obviously they throw in a picture of some young kids. Like, if you notice, there's only 4 kids there. There's really not many kids, but they will make out like the place is flooded with kids, and it's ridiculous. Nice one, David. I appreciate that, mate. Cheers. Magistrates decided to jail Shashari for 60 days for the offence and ordered him he pay a victim surcharge of £154 after his release. So he's going to pay £154 fine, and he's going to get 60 days in jail for entering the UK illegally, which tells you that every single person that's came over illegally should be getting treated the same, get the jail sentence, and then they should be deported after. Personally, I wouldn't even put them in jail. I would just deport them straight away and save the money all round, save spaces. But realistically, if that's how they can play it out with one, that's how they should play it out with all of them. Why should it should be any different? This week, hundreds of people have been moved out of the Manston. It's actually more, over 1,000. There was 4,500 there at one point. Then it dropped down to 3,500. Then a few more went, and then another 1,000 left, I think it was. And now there's around 3,100, give or take, something like that in there at the moment. There could be more leaving as we speak. In a statement this week, it said a POM member working at a site likened the situation to a pressure cooker coming to the boil with a jammed release valve. She described the ability to move people on from a site in a timely manner as that pressure release valve. We have had reports of incidents escalating, altercations between residents boiling over and resulting in injury, with police having to be called out to the site to investigate assaults and provide support to the staff. So what you've got to remember is these people are meant to be claiming asylum to come into the country, yet the police are called to the facility to investigate assaults and to support the staff because they get in trouble. I know staff members have been assaulted in that facility by illegal immigrants. I know one person who didn't go back to work because he was assaulted by staff, and now he's too scared to go back to work because he doesn't trust these people. And because it's so easy to get someone in to replace them in that role, they don't even care that staff are dropping out and moving on. It doesn't bother them in the slightest. Of course, people don't have much sympathy for the people that work with the illegals, because obviously, why would you want to work with illegal immigrants and help destruct the country? But that's neither here nor there. Thanks, real Pollyanna. Thank you. I appreciate that. But what's frustrating is the fact that the police are being called to this site, and it's not just they're attacking staff, they're fighting amongst themselves, because recently just in one of the camps in Lune Plague in northern France, 12 attempted murders have taken place by rival gangs that want their foot in the door in the trafficking trade. And what's happening is these gangs are bringing that violence over to the UK, and what's happening is it's going to end up on the streets. It's already happening in Manston. Thanks, Truth Junkie. I missed that. What did it say? The only man to have ever entered the Houses of Parliament with good intentions was Guy Fawkes. Not wrong. Well, yeah, I lost my trail of thought there. But yeah, so ultimately, if these people are attacking the illegal immigrants, and if they're attacking the staff and they're violent amongst themselves, and the police have to be called regularly to actually just deal with this situation, why are we even letting them remain in the country? Why are we given so much hard work to make their life easier? Like buying them Xboxes, buying them new clothes, taking them clothes shop. Here's another thing: the NGOs were taking them clothes shopping and complaining because they have wristbands on, which locate them to the certain tent they're in and on the date they arrive, so you can sort of keep track of the illegals from a staff point of view. It makes perfect sense. They're claiming now that the Manston facility is like a concentration camp, and these bans are to identify them and dehumanize them and take their name away from them, which isn't the case at all. Like, realistically, everyone would like them to remain in a camp and not be allowed to roam the streets. I think that's what pretty much 95% of the population would want, because then when they're in a secure facility, you can just deport them and get rid of them. This is what the taxpayer wants. This is what the general public want. But sometimes you have to take what you can get. So if we can keep them in the Manston processing facility, that's a bonus. Sure, it's not perfect in there. It's not like staying in a 5-star hotel. And the people that are in the Manston facility know very well it's not like staying in a hotel, which is why they're all kicking off, because they're looking on social media and they're seeing all of these other illegal immigrants in hotels and HMOs and shared, you name it, wherever they're putting them, B&Bs, they're going all up and down the country. And then when they realise they've got to stay in a barracks or a camp or something, they don't like it and they start getting all irate and wound up. And then it becomes a big problem, like at Napier Barracks, which it's just the same old story over and over again. It doesn't really change much, if I'm honest with you. Like, there's been a few trafficking gangs arrested. Nothing worth me reading the whole article for you. It's just I put them on my website to keep tabs on what's going on and how many have been arrested. But there's not enough. Nothing's being done really until we get our own people on the French beaches or we push back at sea. Nothing's going to deter these people from actually coming over like that, which is, it's a shame, but it's true. There's also, where is it? Bear with me a second. Yeah, there's also thousands and thousands of people in northern France are waiting to come over to the UK at the moment. Like, there's in so many various camps. Whenever they clear a camp, straight after, they're straight back in there and they've got a whole new organisation going on, and the NGOs have brought it all back to fruition. Which brings me to this next article. Thousands of illegal immigrants in northern France waiting to cross the channel. Oh, I missed that truth. Sorry. Thanks for the donation, mate. Follow the money. Look who benefits from this. Anyone in Parliament that has shares in Circa. Well, we all know the Tories have got their hands in everything. Like, it's clear as day. Like, they've all got friends in these organisations making an absolute fortune. If they haven't got shares in them themselves, I'll be absolutely surprised. In the various camps used by illegal immigrants in northern France, there are thousands of young fighting-age men waiting around for the opportunity to cross the channel. I'll play a couple of the videos. This is them getting a haircut. So when you see everyone getting fresh haircuts and things like that, that's pretty much how it plays out. They get them in the camps. And then obviously, because they've got nothing to do in northern France, they're just pissing around on the streets. I'm sure the French people love all this. Which isn't that bad, you know what I mean? They're just driving down the road in a trolley. But it just highlights the point that they're all just loitering around sort of thing. Since August, there have been 12 attempted murders at the camp, which has frequently been reported within the French media. It's been reported that the majority of violence happening within a camp is to do with a power struggle between rival trafficking gangs. Illegal immigrants are constantly making the areas they congregate into third world hellholes, and the locals have to suffer the consequences, with the majority of European leaders not only supporting illegal immigration, but openly encouraging it. It's clear that this problem isn't going away anytime soon. Oh, there's a typo there that hits. I'm going to have to change that. This year, over 38,000 illegal immigrants have, well, now it's over 40,000. Bear in mind, this is a while ago, this article now. over 40,000 illegal immigrants across the Channel, all with the assistance of the trafficking gangs, the French Coast Guard, the RNLI, the Royal Navy, and the Border Force. 95% of the crossings, the French Coast Guard escort them to UK waters before being collected by the Border Force. However, in some circumstances, illegal immigrants land undetected on beaches and then attempt to flee, which puts the general public in real danger. Only recently, we've seen a clear example of that, where a legal immigrant landed in Dover, went straight up to Aycliffe, which is the village just above the, just looking over the beach sort of thing, went straight into there, entered into the back of a home and demanded that the woman take this young man to Manchester to whatever he had to do there. But you can imagine how scary that would be for if you're an elderly woman or something like that. You're living on your own. You come downstairs and there's a Somalian downstairs demanding to use your phone. Like that's not okay in any circumstance. Of course, we don't know the true figure, as the MOD figures are very much hit and miss in terms of reliability, which is another thing as well. If you look at the Interforce figures of how many illegal immigrants have claimed to have left France compared to how many illegal immigrants the Home Office and the MOD said came over into the UK, there's a massive difference in that figure. It's something like 10,000 or so discrepancy. So it's clear that one figure is not true. My suspicions are, well, I know the MOD figures are wrong because I've seen it myself. Other people have seen it themselves, where you count the figures and they're not right. Of course, there's not a lot we can do because they're the figures that everyone's going to go by. They're the figures that the media, the think tanks, and everyone will use. So we have to just go by MOD figures. But let's just take them with a pinch of salt, knowing that they're not the true figures. So as you can see, in northern France, the problem's quite huge, and the numbers are growing. I've actually got a black eye coming. Funny enough, my daughter was playing with my phone this morning, and she dropped as we was in bed, she dropped the phone on my head, and it's giving me a bit of a shiner under my eye. So so I could do about that. There's one more article I wanted to get to before we start rounding it up. That's the smuggler one. That's this. Where is it? Oh no, we've done it. So yeah, realistically, if anyone's got any questions, drop them in the chat quickly and I'll answer through them. Basically, this Hope Not Hate article that I pointed out earlier just completely ignore it, to be honest. The fact that they're trying to even associate migrant spotters with what he done is ridiculous. They don't say anything about the media. Well, here's the laughable thing. For just as much as we talk about illegal immigration, so does Hope Not Hate. They talk about it just as much as us, just from a positive point of view. For all we know, he could have seen some of the Hope Not Hate posts and thought, oh, sod this, I'm going for it. Do you know what I mean? So blame it on other people is it's absolutely absurd. And like the fact that they're attacking, they've named Active Patriot and Yorkshire Rose is disgraceful, because they could have named any single one of us. But the reality is, like I said earlier, an attack on one of us is an attack on all of us. We're all doing the same things. We've all got the same end goals. We're all doing it for the right reasons. So all I say is fuck them, basically. I said I was going to check the comments, didn't I, quickly? Yeah, other than that, it was only really going to be a quick stream today. I just want to sort of highlight on what was going on and where we're at, sort of thing. But there's been no arrivals the last few days. At the moment, it's quite rough out in the Channel. If they do take the crossing at the moment, I very much doubt they'd be making it safely. So I don't think any will be taking it over the next few days. But that should change in about by the weekend, maybe Saturday. I suppose they could come over, but it's very much hit and miss now until the end of the year. At the moment, we're around 40,000. I'd say we'll probably reach close to 50,000 by the end of the year on MOD figures, which is the actual official figures that are put out. But other than that, it's just business as usual in terms of illegal immigration. We don't know anyone. We don't know how many have come over in the back of lorries, and we never will, because getting the true scale of that is impossible. I was down at the port, not the docks where the illegals come through, but I was down at the eastern docks where all the ferries come through and back, and I was keeping the tabs on the lorries that was coming in and out of the country, and like usual, barely any of them are checked by the officials. Of course, they say they do checks the French side, but there's no way that every single lorry is checked the French side, so we have no idea how many are coming by the lorry. The Home Office is saying that they don't even collate any data on who are coming through via the Eurotunnel. So we have absolutely no idea who's coming via that route. So as you can imagine, the numbers that will be coming are huge. And then that's only, here's the worst thing about it, it's only a small amount. The illegal immigration side of things is only a small scale compared to what's coming over legally. The reality is it was getting replaced. And there's one key problem that I haven't mentioned since there's one it's quite important actually. There's one issue that I haven't mentioned, which is I read it earlier and I'm a bit gutted, but I'll get it up. I'm not sure if everyone knows, but celebrations have kicked out the bounty. The bounty has now been replaced. So if you like celebration, you like a bounty, you're not getting a bounty at Christmas, innit? It's a bit of it's the best one gone, to be honest. So Victoria, did my girls get a school place? Yeah, they got a school place. They're both fine at school, to be honest with you. There's no issues there. But yeah, the bounty's gone. Like, how can you believe that? It's the best one in the packet, gone. What do you mean, dirty coconut? It's the best one, without a doubt. But yeah, the reason I got the migrant spotting in its migrant spotting t-shirt on is just to show support of Active and Amanda, because they shouldn't be getting their names tarnished when they do the exact same thing as the rest of us. They're all, it's one, like I say, one attack on one of us is attacking all of us. And that's on that note, I'll end it. So thanks for all the super chats, guys, and thanks for listening. I do really appreciate it. I will do a longer stream in a few days or so after the weekend. It's just I've been a bit busy today, but I wanted to try and get all this news out before the weekend comes, because I'm going to be busy with the kids over the weekend, so I won't be able to put much out, to be honest. So take care, guys, and hope you all had a good Halloween and all of that.